Any African can clap their hands, can dance to any rhythm, because we are born like that.
Everybody who really starts listening to African music, why has this been hidden for so long, you know?
Suddenly, high life is becoming hip again.
You find these crate diggers, you know, they used to look only for old funk, old soul, old disco. And now they're also looking for African music.
African music influenced all, you know, forms of Western, especially American pop music, gospel, blues, you know, soul and funk and roll music. But what people don't realise is that it's a two-way street. It's very much a transatlantic kind of crisscross sort of boomerang effect of music just coming back and forth. It's a continual discussion, and I think that's the story of all mod. I started going to West Africa 12 years ago, and I found records in Ghana that now, you know, kind of coveted collector's records that have been reissued or been on some of our compilations. We're just there on the street.
The music from the other part of the world has been more or less harvested, and now people are trying to look for other areas. And Africa being like something totally undiscovered, it has shocked and impressed many people who thought they knew everything about soul or funk, and then they hear something that is influenced by the style they love so much, but then mixed in with rhythm that has been alive for hundreds of years.
That 70s stuff, you know, the Afrobeat, the Afro-funk. You could play it on any dance floor, and people just started to move. African music is very rhythmic, you know. Drums and rhythms are really at the core of the music, are very important.
Highlife was first played by musicians who have acquired the skill of playing foreign instruments like trumpet, saxophone and trombones, you know, and they were played in organized ballroom shows in Accra, in Cape Coast, and Kumasi, the major capital towns, where white officials and black government officials met and had good time.
The poor people who gathered outside the dancing clubs, they couldn't go in because you had to have money. And they would listen to the waltzing, the ballroom music, and they would dance with their girlfriends or wives on the pavements. So they called it high-class music, high-life music.
These bands became known as the ballroom bands, like E.T. Mensah, like Jerry Hansen and Kim Bruce. Bands that could play waltzes, quick steps, slow foxtrots. It's purely white harmonic structures. But then the black man says, okay, let me use part of the military music. That was the music of our colonialists and the American music coming from America by Glenn Miller and others. And we try to extract some melodies into our rhythms, you know, and fuse together. We were able to combine and get this kind of what is high life.
It was the tempos that became the most important because after the war, the white members left, the Ghanaians took over. And then it went under the leadership of E.T. Mensah. So he developed a style of high life which was heavily influenced by American swing music.
We play in the mood all.
When high life started to become really popular, there used to be two kinds of high life bands. The one that were these huge brass bands, and then you had the other high life bands that were the guitar high life.
Gradually, the name high life became the generic name in Ghana for any type of popular music.
High life was originated in Ghana. When you hear any song, and you hear this, the clips, ka, 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 ka. If the person who composed this kind of rhythm gives it another name. It's lost. It's highlife.
Music that goes with, that is highlife.
As the castanet goes, ka, ka, ka. Then later on they add one drum, you know, ka, 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 giding, gada, ka, ka, giding, gada.
Pop, 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 you know, pop, pop. Pop, 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 or maybe pop, 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 pop.
Around the 50s, at that time you come to Ghana, you'll be happy. You go to Kumasi, clubs, you see the guitar band, typical high life. You will dance, 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 dance.
And those days we make good music. When I say good music, we love the music. But today's day we don't make good music. We make money music, you understand? Those days we make music that sometimes when you even play the music, the ladies come and put their cloth on you, you know? We don't get money, but they put the cloth on you. That means they like your music and they like you. And we feel like stars.
During the time of the high life, which is from the 50s to the middle of the 60s, the Afrobeat hasn't come in yet. As Fela, who went to Europe and coming back to Nigeria, he just formed out of a little bit jazz and rhythm, you know, and that's when he started forming up the Afrobeat.
Afrobeat and highlife are not far from each other. It's an extraction or another development.
But the highlife is the main source of everything. If you try the highlife, you can play anything.
When you think of the soul mood, and when you think of jazz itself, you know, it's closely related to highlife.
The reason why soul was able to mutate into Afro soul so quick is because of the message of soul, black and proud. Go back to your roots, do your own thing. So if you're going to do your own thing as a Ghanaian or a Nigerian, and you're copying a guy saying do your own thing, like James Brown, you'll get back to your own thing very fast.
You go to any nightclub, the band playing James Brown.
I started even learning how James Brown sings, you know. Wow, I feel good.
James Brown had some African feel, things that he was doing. But whatever James Brown was doing is from Ghana. Baby, huh? Give it up. It's the same thing that Afro people doing here.
The young people were in love with soul and jazz and everything. There were lots of jazz going on in Ghana at that time.
We all love jazz, but the jazz is still from Africa. You understand?
It is like it's gone and it's coming back to us.
They all had different inspiration to be able to put the high life and the Western music together.
You see, you've got a lot of bands playing rock and roll, rock music, both in Ghana and Nigeria, and even in Sierra Leone, like Geraldo Pino. So there was some type of experimentation going on, but the people who really launched Afro rock was Osibisa.
Everybody, do what you're doing. A smile will bring a sunshine day. Everybody, do what you're doing. A smile will bring a sunshine day.
Osibisa actually lifted the image of Ghanaian music and Africa as a whole, because people didn't know about highlife music. It was just around just centered around our area. It couldn't cross the borders, but Osibisa took it up, went to UK, tried to blend the musicians with foreign musicians and had something fused together and actually made it big.
Osibisa's sound is a mixture of foreign music with African rhythms underneath.
At that time, there was more black power, so the black people had a chance to know more of Africa.
They put us together with rock and roll bands on tour. We support them. And when we support the white groups, it's always sold out.
We all looked up to Osibisa, so each one of us wanted to be as big as Osibisa. We wanted to play like Earth, Wind & Fire. We wanted to be as good as The Who. We wanted to be as famous as the Beatles. We were young and we were making money, and we just had a ball.
Between 65 and 75, I would say these 10 years are definitely the epicenter of African music in general.
Music was like a tap. You turned on your tap, and wherever you were in Ghana, there was music. There was a Napoleon Club there. There were 60 nightclubs in Accra playing live music. There were over 100 dance bands, 100 guitar bands, thousands of traditional groups. The country was so rich in music.
It was very vibrant. All the bands were busy, from the afternoon jams to, pop chains for students. And there was a lot of activity people were spending. And, anytime a band played in a particular location, let's say Circle, the Magic Aliens, for instance, would be playing at Tiptoe Gardens, and there would be a beehive of activity.
By the end of the 70s, the beginning of the 80s, you saw the taps closing down, military coups, curfews, high import duties on musical instruments, and so on and so on.
The economic problem and the political problem came in. Then everything went on flat, went down.
The scene collapsed. Unfortunately, the copyright system too was not working properly. Monies were collected for use of musical works, but the system was flawed.
Very little recognition was given to the musicians in terms of their rights, their mechanical and performing rights. And so all these things, gave us hardships.
The sort of money that was going back to the musicians from all the collective royalties was something like 10%, and 90% was on infrastructure.
The lack of a proper music business structure made it where somebody like CK Man, the greatest feat of CK Man is he's got so many babies named after him, more than anybody in this country. And he doesn't have anything to show for it.
Every year they say, go and correct your royalties. 1 million, 2 million.
$1 was 1,000 CDs. So when he says 1 million CDs, he's talking about $100.
I remember at the time, during one Christmas, we had to run from the musicians, the copyright office to the bank to take money with a check of 2.4 million. Then we couldn't. Then the manager called us in his office that he wanted to help us. Then he said, how much are you come to take? And then we showed him the checks. Said, you a Botella, Pat Thomas, and Papa Yankson, is that all what you got me to collect? And you are so anxious and you running. It was a surprise to her because she sees you on television, she sees you on paper, she hears your record, and then you are chasing only $100 at the end of the season.
We are not rich as maybe you would expect, because a person of my caliber, if I've been in London, maybe I'm living in a skyscraping mansion. But that is not the case in Ghana here.
We had problems. Piracy. You record your album, then somebody makes copies which are sold without respect for copyright law, and there's nothing you can do.
They used to take a record and then, duplicate them on cheap cassettes. They don't pay any royalties and whatnot, so they used to sell these things very cheap. And they were the beginning of the downfall of the music industry. We really took it for granted that, It wasn't any big problem.
Musical creativity was gushing out of Ghanaians, and they thought it would do so for 1,000 years. So you don't need copyright, you don't need protection, you don't need security, old age pensions. Nobody knew that the military coups were going to collapse the musicians, and musicians would die in poverty. Famous great musicians in Ghana.
All the golden age musicians, you know, they played music from their hearts and didn't make a penny for it.
Then the producers too. Most of them haven't behaved as they should.
In the recording field, we have been cheated.
Back in the old days, things happened because we were ignorant of what we had.
I don't agree with you, Lash.
Malek, if you know...
Don't say that. Don't use that word ignorant. We knew exactly what we were doing, but when people want to exploit you, they exploit you.
Look,
don't say ignorant. Maybe you were, but I wasn't.
Oh, no. Don't get excited.
No, I'm not getting excited because you're saying to me, when you say ignorant, I don't agree with you.
We were, ignorant about so many things, and we didn't care. As soon as you hear the song being played in the radio, I say, hey, that's my song.
That was the African feeling at that time. I want to hear my record on the air.
This is a place called Napoleon Club. But now it's deserted. It gives me remembrance of all the olden days, how Napoleon used to be and what it is now. In here, the whole place is crowded, believe me. They came to hear the band play, which is SOUNDZ, my band. You walk in through the gate and you come around here and you name it. People from Australia, people from England, people from America, a whole lot of Ghanaians, because that's what you find when you come into the club. A bunch of people from all over the world. They are here to enjoy themselves. It's amazing that it's empty now, all these memories. 30 years ago, my God. But I can still walk and play, amazing.
Right now, people are rediscovering or discovering old African music. Compilations are being made, and by recapturing the original recordings, producers in the West have helped putting highlife on the world map and into the marketplace.
Records that started popping up in the weirdest places, just sort of littered around, scratched in people's lofts and under their beds. Suddenly we're going to get this second wind.
I should give credit to Miles Carrot with his SOUNDWAY records. Miles was the one who started, but others have come in. I got people from Britain, from Germany, from America coming, getting interested.
This is something which should have been a very popular 40 years ago, but it's only now that it's coming.
Now the real African Ghanaian funk is coming. The real one is coming.
We did create a certain buzz, but I have to say we were not the first people to come to Africa to find this old African funk.
All the people who come from Europe came to CK Man. They did the funky
highlife or Ghanaian repertoire. Isbons has the largest, catalog.
He has all this 70s music on the shelves in his archive, sitting somewhere, and no one's doing anything with it.
I listened to all that stuff, and that's how I started pulling the songs for the compilation Afrobeat Airways.
The vast majority of people whose doorstep I turned up on, trying to give them even a little bit of money and hopefully a bit of exposure outside of Ghana, they were just really glad that that had come finally.
Some guys came talking about Kusumbit and some other records of mine. And then I said, well, so we struck the deal, and they said they are going to reproduce it.
After all these years, it's the same record that has been released. And it's all over on internet. That's like a dream for me. I don't believe it.
Some of the musicians, like Ebo Taylor, he's released some new music, which is Afrobeat, because of all the interest in his old music. Some others are still playing with their own groups and touring Africa, Europe, America. And I'm sure more African artists will start doing the same thing.
However slow or progresses, Afrobeat and highlife will go to a higher scale.
What a mighty victory, Ghana, and we all are so happy. Ghana, Ghana forward forever. Yes, we say good luck to you, Ghana forever.
The highlife is our identity. Without the highlife, there is no music in Ghana. So I'm just praying that the Ghanaians will realize to revive the highlife back.
When we play highlife, people love it. And it sounds to them so new, although it's been going for a long time.
We have fought the fight, and we are making a headway for our followers.
So if you get a producer from abroad, I know the highlife will go far, far, far.
There should be always a place for traditional music. I think I have to give you a simple example of palm wine guitar music.
Odoman kuma weni Kontun kuro yoda mansan ko munie Yoko doji dia meduro Owo tradi atobi That's a boy odo obeko Parce que ce que vous trompez ça à ça c'est un peu comme un dieu ou y a des peku. A dieu ou so on fait. Was what my boom was watching Baba Duani, the Bobu I am pam. A yo. The animal will mean Bobo boy. Buy when they sells.